Well, speaking of actors and actresses, Taraji P. Henson recently did an interview where she cried about not being paid what she felt she deserved. And a lot of people, felt what she was going through.
Because did they feel the same way when Mo'Nique was doing it?
People compare it to the Mo'Nique situation.
So Mo'Nique was basically the first to speak out.
She was one of them.
So it's so now that Taraji's saying it, you see that, okay, this is something going on. It's not just crazy Mo'Nique no more. Now you see it's a real thing that's going on. Taraji said it. Viola Davis has said it. This is really happening in Hollywood. Why?
I have a different point of view when it comes to this type of thing.
I'm curious.
Okay. Me and Lunel had a clip that's actually become the biggest clip on the site right now, where we have a discussion about this.
The fact that we're getting underpaid makes, you talk about women, we got attitude and all this kind of stuff. You work just as hard, if not harder. And Taraji should be making Meryl Streep money. She should be. She's a great actress. She's done the Black Circuit movies, and then she's done some, Benjamin Button mainstream, she's done some great shit. She's a great fucking actress. Her, Angela Bassett, Sheryl Lee Ralph, they should be making the top dollar in accordance with some of these male actors and top white female actresses.
Now, when it comes to projects, okay, now you can relate to this to a certain degree. You do interviews for a living.
I got a theory too.
Right? You do interviews for a living, just like I do. Every interview that you do costs money.
Right.
You have your film crew, you have your staff, you have your co-hosts, you have your location, and the person who's being interviewed. Now, I occasionally pay, appearance fees for interviews. Do you at this point or no? No. Okay. But at one point,
I cover travel and stuff.
But you do cover travel. Okay. So there's a cost associated with it, right? Some interviews that you do very well. Like, for example, you have DJ Vlad on your show.
I have that, Vlad. I have that chart of,
yes.
Yeah, I don't think I'm getting my money back from this.
Right.
So we're
certain
not doing
people,
it. Right.
Certain people you bring on, when you count all the expenses involved in it, you lose money. Right? Hold on. I'm not
done.
Come on.
No, I get there.
Okay? Same thing with me. Now, occasionally, and this has happened to me, interviews will blow up and people will feel like, I should have gotten paid more for this interview, or I should have gotten maybe a piece of your revenue, or this, that, and the third. I've had these conversations with people. I remember me and Little B, we had agreed that some of his videos should be on my channel. Early on in his career, we put them up there. Some of them did well. And he was like, you should have cut me some money off these videos. And it's like, but that wasn't the agreement. You know what I'm saying? So me and him had a falling out. At this point, we're cool, but whatever, right? Now, at any point, I've never seen a situation where when a project does bad, that a person says, hey, man, I saw that you lost money on this. Let me give you some money back.
Never.
So saying this, people like to feel after the fact that when something does well, they should get something extra. But at no point do they feel when something doesn't do well that they should kick back to the person who lost money.
So why then would there be such a big gap between what people get? I can understand wanting to get extra. But if I walked in and it seemed like everybody else got extra from the rip and I didn't, that's my problem.
Okay.
I can understand. let's just call it what it is, man. It's America, man. It's America. America's fucking racist. America is there's racism still alive and breathing and thriving in America. It might be fading in other areas of the world, but it is still here and thriving. And if you're a white man, that means if you're a white actor, I could give you this check because there's not an area of people who's not gonna watch you because you're white. But if you're black, I can't give you this check because there's a bunch of people who's not gonna click because you're black.
So people don't watch Denzel movies, huh? White people don't watch Denzel movies?
Of course they do. But again, bro, it's like, all right, let's say it the other way. They're not paying them because they're black. Either way, it's you're black, they're white, you're getting it, they get this money, you get this money.
Never at my point, when I look at appearance fees, do I say, I'm going to pay this dude more because of his race. It ultimately comes down to what I think the person, how well their video will perform to my audience.
But you don't run Hollywood, Vlad.
But I run my own little mini Hollywood.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
I have my own little world.
It's about the story for you, right?
It's about the story for me.
Now, for the people who are crunching numbers.
In fact, I can clearly say I have paid my black guests more than I've paid my white guests. Absolutely. Without
Taraji,
a shadow of a doubt.
Viola, come to Vlad. Come to Vlad.
Yeah, this is where the money's
Mo'Nique,
at.
come to Vlad.
Come to Vlad.
Vlad, you should start a film studio.
Mo'Nique actually came to Vlad, and then her husband basically wanted ownership of the video unless, and wouldn't have her sign the release form unless he owned the video.
I'm not mad at that because it could get bounced and flipped a million ways.
But to own it? To own it or
have part ownership?
For me.
Is it part ownership or ownership?
No, they want to own it outright and license it. Let me use it for a short period of time. When I filmed it and there was no discussion of this. If I did an interview on your time? After the fact. If I did an interview with you, if I went on my expert opinion,
right,
and you gave me the release form like you gave me last time. Remember, I was like, yo, you need to have people sign release forms, right? I put you up on that game.
Right.
And now you're using release forms.
Right.
If you gave the release form, be like, you know something, let me have my lawyer look at it. I'll get back to you. And then when I get back to you, say, you know something, I'm not going to sign this unless I own it. In fact, I'm not going to sign this at all. I'm going to give you something different to sign, and I'm going to own it. And you could run it for a little while, but then afterwards, I'm going to own it permanently.
Vlad, remember that thing that we talked about earlier, the bite? You bit. They just didn't want the interview out.
I guess so. And it was a nasty way of doing it.
Instead of saying I wasted your time,
I'm just going to bring up a ridiculous situation that you're not going to go for.
Which we know that you're not going to go for.
Which I'm not going to go for. And when I said, hey, did you do this when you were on Sway or Breakfast Club? No. And they just wouldn't even answer that question.
But you know what, Vlad, you again, and it's not fair. It's not fair. They may have done that to you just because you was white.
Who knows?
And yo, they shitting on us over here, so we gonna shit. But that's not how you fix shit.
Yeah. That's
not how you fix it. That's how you keep it going.
Right. But back to the Taraji
But it's
situation.
Whack. It's whack.
It's whack.
It's whack.
It's whack. I would never do that to anybody. If I sat down and I know that you're paying for this production, I wouldn't sit around and do a bait and switch on you.
Right.
Have I ever gave you any problems at all when I've been on your show?
No.
Never, ever, ever.
But what if she'd offer you money for it?
Then that's a negotiation then.
Right. But there was no money offered.
No.
She just said she wanted to own it.
Yeah. Her husband. I never spoke to her. Her husband.
Oh, you never spoke? Okay.
Yeah, her husband was who was in the actual video.
Hey, yo, man, you never know. You might have just got off a phone call with Warner Brothers and you got the bad end of that deal. You know what I'm saying?
Still a sour taste in my mouth over that shit.
Yeah, but
you know what I'm saying?
At the same time, it's like, for someone who's going through that, Vlad, it's unsettling that you want to believe that this shit is based on how skilled I am. Hold on. Let me finish.
Go ahead. My bad.
You want to believe it's based on how skilled I am. I've harnessed my skills. I've put hours, my whole life into this. And when you turn that camera on, ain't many people that can hang with me. I intimidate some of the people that you're paying more money than me, which makes no sense.
Makes all the sense in the world.
It doesn't, bro.
And this is why.
It does.
And this is why. When it comes to entertainment, it is not based on skill level. It's based on how many people you could get in those seats or how many eyeballs you could get. People are either paying with their money or their eyes. It's one of the two.
Now,
hold on. Let me finish. Is Taraji P. Henson a better actor than Brad Pitt? There's a very good argument for that. Does Brad Pitt have a bigger fan base than Taraji?
I understand what you're saying.
So therefore, when it's time to come up with budgets for people, they say we're going to offer Brad this much.
Because we're
going to offer Taraji because he is a leading man. Unfortunately, Taraji is not a leading actor.
I understand what you're saying.
She is a great supporting actress.
Viola Davis
is a leading actor.
Why does she have that problem?
Does she have the same power,
bruh,
of an audience?
You can't count numbers, bro.
You have to count numbers. It's all about numbers,
bro. The whole world was tuning in to how to get away with murder, bro. And it was a show all about her.
And how much was she being paid for that? Let's take a look. How much
crazy, though,
did Viola
I can understand your argument
Davis get for
Brad Pitt to rock, but Viola, bro, that don't make no sense. It don't make no sense. But I will say
she got $250,000 per episode for 6 seasons.
Okay,
that is a nice bag.
It's a nice bag, but
it's a nice bag.
What's homegirl's name that was on Seinfeld? What was she getting?
Okay, first of all, before we look this up,
before we expose this racism,
hold on. Seinfeld was a much bigger show than How to Get Away with Murder. It's not even close.
I just want to see what
in fact, Seinfeld is still in syndication.
I want to see. Look, Vlad, you're trying to protect him.
But also
trying to protect your Hollywood buddies.
I don't know any of these people. I don't know. I don't know Viola. I don't know Seinfeld. I don't know Dreyfus.
No. But to those people, I say this, and I know it's tough. But technology, we're getting to a place where you can get ahead of the curve.
600,000 per episode.
Huh?
600,000 per episode.
$600,000.
Jerry Seinfeld was getting $1 million per episode.
$1 million per.
Yeah. Seinfeld was a bigger show than How to Get Away with Murder. You can't even. This is not even.
All right,
a debate.
so give me a show that's on the same level with a white female actress.
I would have to start running numbers. I can't do this in a spur of the moment. I'm not trying to dodge this. I'm just saying that trying to get a show equivalent to another show real time is very difficult right now.
Anybody else? Anybody got a suggestion? Anybody got a suggestion?
It's too hard of a suggestion. All I'm saying. But here's the thing, right?
Let's just be real.
Hold on. I want to say this on a macro level. Here's the bigger problem. No one wants to hear a millionaire complain that they didn't get more millions. You're already a millionaire. Taraji lives in a $6 million house. She's worth $12 million.
What?
No one wants to hear.
Sacrificed.
Nobody wants to hear Vlad complain about money.
For the sake of her craft, she has sacrificed.
Hold
on, she's sacrificed. Listen to me,
or is that
Vlad.
what she really wanted to do?
Let me talk.
Okay.
For the sake of her craft, she has sacrificed her privacy. She cannot walk around in regular. Okay, she live in a $6 million house. Why? Can't she live in the hood? Can she live in the burbs? Will she be left alone? She won't, right?
Someone worth $12 million will never live in the hood.
Someplace where
she's forced to live in a $6 million house. Boo-hoo. Oh, no. I have to live in my $6 million house.
But understand,
woe is me. Life is so hard.
Yo, you make it sound like it.
I'm not, but no one wants to hear a millionaire complain. No one wants to hear.
That is a fact.
Right?
That is a fact.
Does anyone want to hear
to hear it.
Does anyone want to hear Vlad complain about money? Nobody, not a damn person. And I know it, which is why I don't complain about money.
But they're not complaining about the
I had
money.
a rough year.
They're not complaining about the money, Vlad.
Year.
They're
I'm
not complaining about the money.
No,
It's
she
not-
was complaining.
It's not the money.
She was specifically complaining about the money. She was crying about the money.
Do you
She
think
even
it's
said
really
at one
about the money?
point,
Do you think it's really about the money?
yes, it's all about the money. That's the
or
whole
is it
complaint.
about, I worked this hard and they can still do this?
Okay.
That's what it's about.
Here was my point.
That's what it's really about.
When me and Lunel had
That's what it's really about.
Lunel had a conversation about this. This was my point. Okay. When I first got into the film business, my first project, my first documentary was called Ghost Ride the Whip. I directed and produced it. I spent 4 months working on it nonstop. I was in the editing bay every night, working, not getting sleep, trying to come up with the best project I could. I possibly could. I put my heart and soul into this. I come from the Bay. This was a very personal project for me. You know, I pulled strings. I got Sway to narrate it. He got paid. You know what I'm saying? Everything else like that. It came out. It was reasonably successful. I got paid $25,000 for my role in it, and I never got a royalty check after that. The film company I went through said they never recouped.
I got $2,500
For what?
and I was a lead role.
In?
Rap War 1.
Okay. You through someone else's company, right? Okay. So
You got $25,000.
for directing and producing a film that was on
I got
Netflix,
20 I got
that was on
2,500.
BET.
Yeah,
okay,
it was on.
right.
Mine
right.
was on Stars.
Okay, there you go. Right.
It was on Stars.
It was on Stars.
Vlad.
Right. I feel
People
you.
changing the channels. Oh shit.
Oh shit.
That's
Netflix.
math.
Vlad. Oh, here goes Vlad on
shit.
Netflix. Right. You know what I told myself? And I never recouped. I never saw it to this day. This was 15 years ago because I was doing this right when Vlad TV was launching. And I looked at this and I said, okay, I'm not doing this again. From here on in, I'm no longer going through these movie companies. I'm going to own my own content. I'm going to shoot. People ask, oh, why are you always behind the camera? Because when I started, I couldn't afford a cameraman. I was holding the camera.
Right.
I was holding the camera. I was editing the video. I was writing up the titles. I was putting it out. I was doing the marketing. I was doing everything. You know why? Because I couldn't afford anything else. You remember, I mean, you know, we met probably not too long after that. I'm not making this up. What I said at that point is that, listen, I can complain. I can go on MySpace and say how Image Entertainment did me dirty and they owe me money and I wasn't paid enough. Or I could say, fuck it. I'm going to build up my own thing and go, you know, from a small scale and work up and own my own projects.
No, fuck that.
And I will do it myself and I won't have to worry about getting underpaid.
But first, we have to sync the people who's practicing this.
Sync?
So I hope that every actor that's been underpaid or been through some sort of imbalance or injustice, I hope every single one of them speaks out against that company or that production house or whatever it is. I hope they speak out in the midst of creating their own independent films, in the midst of creating the routes where those companies don't hold power.
I know this sounds very romantic.
I know you don't get what I'm saying.
To put it that way. No, I understand
But
what
you
you're
get what I'm
saying.
saying.
I understand what you're saying. But what I'm saying is,
To be able to do that, Vlad, especially with Hollywood, they first have to sync the people who are going to spend their money in trying to destroy you after you do it. You dig what I'm saying?
no one's, I mean, I know it sounds
think
cool
that.
that people are destroying you and blacklisting you and everything else like that.